We all know the story. 300 Spartans, a narrow pass, 1,000,000 Persians. A glorious, impossible last stand that echoes through history. We see the sacrifice, we hear the defiance, come and take them. But there's a problem with that story. It's a story of a defeat. The stand at Thermopylae was legendary, but it was a catastrophic loss. The pass was taken. King Leonidas was killed, his body mutilated, and the Persian horde, led by the god King Xerxes, poured into Greece, burning the city of Athens to the ground. The sacrifice of the 300 was meant to buy time. But what good is time if you can't use it to win? This is not the story of the 300. This is the story of the 10,000 who came after them. This is the story of the battle that wasn't a last stand, but a first victory. A battle of brutal revenge and the real, forgotten clash that truly saved Western civilization. This is the story of the Battle of Plataea. The year is 479 BC. 1 year has passed since Thermopylae. Greece is on its knees. While the Greek navy, in a desperate gamble, managed to cripple the Persian fleet at the Battle of Salamis, the war was far from over. Xerxes, the Persian king, had returned to his capital, but he did not leave in defeat. He left his most trusted general, Mardonius, in charge of an elite, massive, and battle-hardened army. His orders were simple: finish the job. Mardonius was a brilliant and ruthless commander. He didn't just want to conquer Greece, he wanted to break its spirit. He offered the Athenians a deal: surrender, and your city will be spared. The Athenians refused. So Mardonius marched on Athens and burned it to the ground again. The message was clear: resistance is futile. The alliance of Greek city-states was fractured. Sparta, the greatest military power in Greece, was hiding behind its walls, seemingly unwilling to commit its full force. The Athenians, refugees, watching their homes burn for a second time, sent a desperate, final ultimatum to Sparta: march with us now, or we will make peace with Persia and use our navy to help them conquer you. The Spartan council was silent. For days they debated. To march out in full force meant leaving Sparta defenseless, but to stay meant the end of Greece. Then, on the final day, one man spoke. His name was Pausanias. He was the nephew of King Leonidas, the regent for Leonidas's young son. The blood of the 300 ran in his veins. He would not let his uncle's sacrifice be in vain. Sparta finally marched, and they didn't just send a token force. They sent 5,000 of their finest full-citizen Spartan hoplites. With them, they brought 5,000 helot skirmishers, slaves trained for war. 10,000 Spartans leading a combined force from dozens of city-states. The combined Greek army that gathered was the largest hoplite force history had ever seen. Nearly 40,000 heavy infantry, supported by tens of thousands of light troops. They marched north, united by a single purpose:
to drive the Persian invader from their lands or die trying.
They found Mardonius encamped on the flat plains near the town of Plataea, on the far side of the Asopus River. Mardonius had chosen his battlefield well. His greatest advantage was his cavalry, thousands of skilled horsemen who could devastate the tightly packed Greek phalanx on open ground. The Greeks knew this. Their commander, Pausanias, positioned his army on the high ground, the foothills of Mount Cithaeron, where the cavalry could not easily charge. And so they waited. For 11 days, the two largest armies of the ancient world stared each other down across a river. It was a brutal stalemate. Mardonius refused to send his infantry up the hill against the superior Greek hoplites. Pausanias refused to come down to the plain, where the Persian cavalry would slaughter them. Instead, Mardonius played a cruel game. Day after day, he sent his cavalry across the river in hit-and-run raids. They were led by a dashing commander named Mecistius. They thundered up the Greek lines, showering them with arrows, daring them to break formation. The Greeks held, but it was agonizing. Morale was dropping. Then, the Persian cavalry found the Greek supply line. In one swift, devastating raid, they captured the entire convoy of food and water that was meant to sustain the Greek army. Pausanias' situation had become desperate. He was on high ground, but he had no food and no water. He was trapped. But before we see how Pausanias' desperate gamble unfolds, if you are enjoying this dive into the forgotten battles that shaped our world, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We explore incredible stories from history just like this every week, and we would be honored to have you as part of our community.
He made a decision that almost cost him the war. He ordered a nighttime withdrawal. The plan was to pull the entire army back to a new position, one that was still fortified but had access to a fresh water source. But moving 40,000 men in the dark across unfamiliar, broken terrain is a recipe for disaster. The withdrawal was a mess. The Greek center, composed of smaller city-state contingents, pulled back too far, ending up scattered near Plataea. The Athenians on the left flank somehow got lost and were delayed. And the Spartans on the right flank refused to move until the very last second, a display of their characteristic stubborn pride. When dawn broke, Mardonius looked across the river and could not believe his eyes. The high ground, once bristling with the bronze shields of the Greek phalanx, was empty. The Greek army was gone. All he could see was a small contingent of Spartans, fully exposed, scrambling to retreat across the plain. Mardonius laughed. The cowardly Greeks were fleeing. The Spartans, the most feared warriors in the world, were running for their lives. "Victory!" he shouted, mounting his white stallion. He gathered his elite, the 10,000 Persian immortals, and his best infantry, and gave the order he had been waiting for. "Charge! We will annihilate them all!" The full force of the Persian army thundered across the river. Tens of thousands of men, screaming for blood, ran directly at the retreating Spartans. Pausanias, seeing the wave of Persians approach, knew this was the end. His army was broken, scattered. The Athenians were nowhere in sight. He was alone. He ordered his Spartans and their allies, the Tegeans, to turn.
They were just 11,500 men. They slammed their shields together, lowered their 9-foot spears, and prepared to meet the charge of an army that outnumbered them perhaps 10 to 1. But first, Pausanias looked to the sky and made one final sacrifice to the gods. The omens were bad. He was told to wait. The Persians crashed into them. They were not a phalanx, but a wall of men. They carried wicker shields and wore cloth armor. They dropped their short spears and drew their daggers, grabbing the long Spartan spears with their bare hands, trying to snap them, trying to create any opening. The first volley of Persian arrows was so thick it blacked out the sun. The Spartans, cowering under their shields, were taking casualties. They were holding, but they were dying. The omens from Pausanias' sacrifices were still bad. His men were screaming at him, "Why don't we fight?" Pausanias, in tears, turned his eyes toward the temple of Hera and prayed. "Goddess," he begged, "do not let our hopes be in vain." At that exact moment, the sacrifices turned favorable. The order was given: advance.
The Spartan phalanx, a solid wall of bronze and muscle, took one step forward, then another. They began to push. This was what they were born for. The Persians, with their wicker shields, stood no chance against the weight of the hoplite charge. The Spartan spears found their mark. The shield wall began to grind forward, a machine of death wading through the chaos. Mardonius, on his white horse, saw his elite infantry, the best in his empire, being butchered. He knew he had to rally them. He gathered his personal bodyguard of 1,000 horsemen and charged directly into the heart of the Spartan line, right where Pausanias himself was fighting. It was a clash of titans. The Persian general, a giant of a man, fought like a demon, but he was on a horse, a huge target. A Spartan soldier, spotting the general, hurled his spear. It missed. Another Spartan, a man named Arimnestus, saw his chance. He hefted a large rock from the ground, the same ground they were fighting to protect, and threw it with all his might. It struck Mardonius directly in the head. The Persian general fell from his horse dead. For a moment, the battle froze. Then, the Persian line broke. Seeing their leader fall, the confidence that had driven them across the river vanished. It was replaced by pure, abject terror. They turned and ran. The Spartans did not just cheer. They did not just hold the line. They saw the man who had burned Athens. They saw the army that had desecrated their king. And they were filled with the rage that had been building for over a year. Pausanias gave the order. The phalanx broke apart, and the Spartans charged. This was no longer a battle. It was a massacre. The Athenians, having finally arrived, cut off the escape route. The other Greeks, seeing the Persians flee, turned back and joined the pursuit. The Spartans, the fastest and most brutal of them all, chased the terrified Persians back to their fortified camp. The Persians slammed the gates, but it was useless. The Greeks, mad with victory, stormed the walls. What followed was one of the most one-sided slaughters in ancient history. The Greeks showed no mercy. They shouted for Leonidas. They shouted for Athens. They slaughtered everyone they could find. Of the estimated 200,000 Persians who had awakened that morning, it is said that by nightfall, fewer than 3,000 were left alive. The entire elite army of the Persian Empire was annihilated.
Their camp was plundered, revealing riches beyond imagination: gold, silver, fine silks. The threat to Greece was not just defeated, it was erased.
When the battle was over, the Greeks walked the field. They found the body of Mardonius. One man suggested that, as revenge, they should cut off his head and put it on a pike, the same way Xerxes had done to Leonidas. Pausanias, the Spartan general, was horrified. That, he said, is an act for barbarians, not for Greeks. They had won the war, and they had done it without losing their soul. The Battle of Plataea is the forgotten victory. Thermopylae was the glorious sacrifice. Salamis was the naval triumph. But it was Plataea, the brutal land battle fought by 10,000 Spartans and their allies, that truly ended the Persian invasion of Greece. The 300 Spartans did not die in vain. Their sacrifice bought the time for the 10,000 to deliver the revenge. They held the pass just long enough for Greece to unite, to rally, and to fight back, not as 300, but as one. And in doing so, they didn't just save their homes, they saved the very idea of freedom, democracy, and the future of the Western world.
History is full of these forgotten battles where everything hung in the balance. What other incredible last stands or epic tales of revenge do you think deserve their own story? Let us know your ideas in the comments below. We read every single one. Thank you for watching.